You need human intervention. Even the content that ChatGPT has, somebody is feeding that content to it, right? And that somebody is you and me, right? So it will help for sure, but I don't think it would replace. I mean, ठीक है, थोड़ा बहुत content वगैरह के लिए you probably will not hire a full-fledged content writer alone, because you know that if I have a little idea of English and I am, an average communicator, ChatGPT can help me. But if you see the bigger picture, no, ChatGPT can be a I would say ChatGPT can be an acquaintance, but not your best friend. I'm from Odisha, from a small town called Rourkela. But I'm very blessed with the kind of family I have. My parents are voracious readers. They are amazing storytellers. So is my grandfather, both sides of grandparents. So, at a time when children were really reading Nancy Drew, I was reading Harper Lee and Jane Austen. So, I think my interest in communication and storytelling, most importantly, started very young. Although most of the parents want their children to have a reading habit, but not necessarily that the reading habit culminates into something that you are right now. But it just happened organically, honestly. Like, nobody forced me, or nobody was like, padho, 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 to ye hoga. Nothing like that. My parents have a library even now at my home, and it has almost 1,000 books. And we have like one entire room dedicated to that. So that's how my journey has been since I was very young. And then when I started studying, I kind of figured that I'm very interested in English and history and geography, and not so much in math, science, and all of that. Both my parents are extremely accomplished in their field, so everybody used to think that Mishra ji ki betiya doctor or engineer banengi. But my parents couldn't care less. They were like, do whatever your heart feels right. So I became a communicator, and my sister is a lawyer. Like I told you, I have a twin sister. She's a lawyer and I am a communicator. I went into college thinking I'll be a journalist, but when I went into college, I realized that being in front of the camera is not my deal, but being behind the camera and letting other people be in front of the camera, deciding, strategizing what, how, where, was something that interested me more. And that's how I landed my first job with Genesis. Then I was with MSL and the rest. I was in MSL for 11 years. And that was really the time that time really shaped me into what I am. And then I moved to the corporate 4 years back. So we have our marketing team is a team of around 20-22 people. And then we have sub-teams. So my role is majorly to look at global communication and PR. This being a US company, our major focus is in the US and the UK. Although we are now starting to do a little bit of brand building in India as well. And then I'm also doing other parts of marketing, which I had told my boss when I was joining that I really want to, kind of broaden my horizon and not just be, I didn't want to like kind of restrict myself only to communication. So my boss has been kind. He's been challenging me. So I'm also looking at other stuff like, partner marketing and, some of the other stuff of marketing, which is really different from PR and communication. But for somewhere the skills are coming in handy. But yeah, that's predominantly what I'm doing right now. I think that would be very similar to what most of the communication agency folks would have felt. When I remember when I was working in a communication agency, and we would do so much. यहाँ पे कवरेज आ रहा है, वहाँ पे कवरेज आ रहा है, इधर पे इतना बड़ा स्टोरी आ गया and all that. But ultimately, how is it benefiting the brand? That was so. Getting a mention in a Times of India, is that enough? Is it going to get eyeballs for your brand? And that is really the time when I really started thinking that, okay, I am getting you in Times of India and I am getting you in, like a whatever, Economic Times, Indian Express. But those are like one mention or maybe, 4 lines. How is it benefiting us? And there was no data for that, right? Like in advertising, there is data. But for PR, there is no data. And then when I graduated to a strategic role, and when I used to go and meet new business prospects, they would say, how do you calculate? Like, if I invest X amount of money with you and put you in a retainer, at the end of the month, how are you going to give me ROI? Initially, we used to talk about that length and breadth and that calculation, but that is so archaic, it doesn't work. And people would be like, and people are smart. Clients are also becoming smarter. So they were like, so what? एक लोक सत्ता में या फिर एक कप आज का आनंद में एक ऐसा 12/12 का आ जाएगा, तो how is it making a difference? So that was really the time when I had to sit at the drawing table and figure out how do we get data to really showcase to our clients that this is what you have done with us and this is where you are heading to. Obviously, unlike marketing, PR is not an overnight success. That I have been shouting from the rooftops since day one. People think that if you hire an agency, you are in Times of India tomorrow. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Right? But yes, that is the time when data really was, I figured out that nahi, ये data नहीं चलने वाला है length and breadth वाला. We really need to talk about efficacy. We really need to talk about the tone of voice, the kind of space we are getting. Are we the lead in the story? So, we really went back to the drawing table and tried to measure these things as opposed to, the length and breadth calculation. I've worked with various clients, right? Because, I've been in this industry for so long. So, starting from your Star Plus to, from Media Entertainment, Star and Radio Mirchi, Sony, to your Volkswagen, Mercedes and all of that. But one thing, I still remember that day when we had signed up for First Cry. That time, First Cry was not what it is today, right? They had not, they wanted to raise Series D, but they had not done it yet. And that really was the time. And it was just me and two of my colleagues, both kids. I was also fairly a kid. I was very young that time. But we had the confidence. We walked into the client's office. We did our pitch and, all of that happened. We got the client. And then the first task was, we are in the process of raising Series D. We want to be, what as a PR, how can you help us? So, First Cry is a baby company. They have a lot of products for babies and mothers, right? Consumer was not we did consumer, but we realized that just by doing consumer stories, that's not enough. We can't do it. We really, really have to go deep into the companies, into the publications that are really writing about numbers. And that is when, we really, I can't even tell you, if my colleagues at that time, if they're listening, their heart would be beating right now, because I know how many sleepless nights we have spent just figuring out how, and that was the first time that we were working with a startup client. And we were like, this is our chance. Is baar agar hum log ne kar liya, we'll get more startup clients, otherwise we'll not get. And then that was one campaign I remember. And few days later, we managed to do this huge story in Economic Times, and then followed your other publications that are read by investors. So, and then we showed them and coincidentally, also with our help, I'm sure, in the matter of next 3-4 months, they actually raised their Series D. So, it was a journey that was so special to us. Like, we worked so hard and we actually told them that, because initially they were like, why do we want to be in Economic Times? We are a consumer company. And we're like, no, you want to be read. Investors should read about you. Just me as a consumer reading doesn't, it's okay. It's good for the brand. But for your investments, that's not enough. So, that was one campaign that is very memorable to me. And similarly with Food Panda also, then we did one with Food Panda where we were working with Tasty Khana, and Tasty Khana was Tasty Khana was looking at a buyer. And then we did the entire campaign. And by we, I mean me and two of my colleagues from my office. We did that entire campaign, and then Tasty Khana got sold with multi-million dollars to Food Panda. So, then and then there are so many, but these are really, somebody asks me, I really talk about these two companies because those were challenging, but so satisfying to see the results. See, now there is no one answer fits all for this particular thing, right? Your matrix really depends on the kind of campaigns you are doing. But if I speak in all entirety, I think the most important measurement for me when I am doing PR at NES and when I was doing PR at STL and when I was doing PR in MSL and these three companies, my most something that I would really look at is my message being covered? So like in my previous company, we were an optical fiber company, right? Now you as a layman person, do you care about optical fiber? You just want internet in your house, right? अब वो कौन से optical fiber लगा रहा है, कहाँ लगा रहा है, आपको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता उससे, right? Same with me. As a layman person, I don't care, right? So now, literally talking about optical fiber, now just getting like a Muntazir is doing a story in Economic Times and he's asking me for a quote. I can just give him a random quote कि हाँ भाई मेरा नाम आ गया ET में. That's not enough. And my messaging that time was to make this as technologically rich as possible, but also something that a layman person will understand, right? So content obviously played a big role, and the messaging most important. A lot of times, people would say that we are not mentioned in the beginning of the story, we are not the lead in the story. I know. I also want to be the lead in the story, but is that possible every time? No, because it really depends on your messaging, your content that you're putting out there. So that has been one of my most important measurement. One of my most important measurement style. I mean, my personal measurement of choice is my message being conveyed through this article, even if it is a 4-line article. And a lot of people don't really care about that. In the sense, a lot of people, they do care, but they don't understand. I have been in meetings where people don't understand how क्या messaging आ रहा है तुम्हारा, क्या है messaging. So for PR and comms, I think AI tools are great thought starters. So if I am stuck somewhere and I ask a question to a chat GPT or a Gemini, they'll give me a thought starter. But does that mean that they are going to give me the right thing? I don't think so, right? That is where you as an individual, your intelligence, your creativity, your presence of mind comes into play. I'll give you a simple example. If you ask ChatGPT to give you a piece of content, and if you do that regularly, like I go to LinkedIn, and now everybody has become a content writer because of ChatGPT and Gemini, right? It is so easy to figure out who has copy pasted from ChatGPT completely, because the words, the language, the tone is the same. You ask him if you ask ChatGPT tell me why water is good for me, it'll give you 20 reasons. If you tell me why water is not good for me, it'll give you 20 reasons. So, and the same is with Google, of course. But the thing is, the while it's a great thought starter, the efficacy of that information, the correctness of the information is really questionable. So people losing jobs, I hope they don't, because if companies are doing that, I think they are not prepared. They are not looking at 10 years ahead. You need human intervention. Even the content that ChatGPT has, somebody is feeding that content to it, right? And that somebody is you and me, right? So it will help for sure, but I don't think it would replace. I mean, ठीक है, थोड़ा बहुत content वगैरह के लिए you probably will not hire a full-fledged content writer alone, because you know that if I have a little idea of English and I am, an average communicator, ChatGPT can help me. But if you see the bigger picture, no, ChatGPT can be a good. I would say ChatGPT can be an acquaintance, but not your best friend. The way you measure advertising ROI, exactly like that. Like, when you see a you have billboards, you have, so many other stuff. If you are putting a billboard, you know how many eyeballs you are getting, what is the conversion rate. With PR, you don't get the conversion rate. I don't know if you have read my article and that is why you bought my product, right? So there is no exact conversion matrix. That is something that should be there. I've seen so many of these young kids, extremely bright and, enthusiastic and they want to do so many things. This is a social media generation. They have grown up with mobiles in their hand. They know so much more than what we knew at their age, right? But because of all of this and the rosy picture that has been painted by the internet, the kids start thinking that life is a bed of roses. Client ने कुछ कह दिया, a colleague tells you something, immediately you start overthinking, overreacting, and then everything, kind of, and then you just lose your mojo. So I just want to tell the kids that life is not a bed of roses, but yes, you can definitely make it one by your own effort. So please be at it. Consistency, perseverance, hard work. Most important is having fun in the process. If you are not having fun, nothing is going to help you. Have fun with whatever you are doing. The sky is the limit for you guys.